All right. What do we do with a problem like Joe Biden? What do we do? This is what the Democrats are facing an interesting position here, because if you guys have seen like all the polls that came out, I like, by the way, after Biden's debate, how people tried to spin it saying, well, actually, Biden's got a bump in the polls, like, a day after. Yeah, okay, no, let's see. And as time has gone on, of course, he's lost points in polls. National polls, like I saw there was one, it was like Trump 49, Biden 43. It's really, really bad. And with the whole debate performance thing, a lot of people are saying that, well, he had a bad night in that first debate, and he's really got a hammer it on the second night. And my first thought is, do we know a second debate's going to happen? Because I got to tell you, if I were Donald Trump, no way in hell I'm doing a second debate. Like you couldn't possibly get me to do a second debate if I was Donald Trump. I would say something like, minutes after the debate was over, folks, the debate's called off. We're not doing this. Like you guys saw what just happened here. Doing this debate would be a waste of time. It'd be incredibly cruel. I'm not going to put myself, my opponent, or the American people through something like that ever again. And no one could argue with him. No one. So Biden may not get the chance to, redeem himself in the second debate. And also, folks, what we saw during that debate wasn't a guy who had an off night, a guy who just, didn't prepare long enough. He prepared 7 days instead of 10 days. That's who he is. That's who he is. Like, and if you're familiar with how linear time works, you'll know that aging does not get better. He's not going to be better, 3 months from now. Right. And the talk of replacing him, the obvious answer is Kamala Harris, right? If they were to do it. I don't know if they're going to do it or not. Most likely not. But if they were, what do you think they should do? If you were Biden's campaign manager, you sold your soul to Satan, and you were Biden's campaign manager, what would you do?
Oh, man. It's hard because I think a lot of those people are just fully Kool-Aid drinkers. So they would just keep running them out there regardless. And like, there's one thing I want to like address outside of this, like the fact that he had a bad performance in the debate, whatever the reason, that's not, that's a very small reason not to, I should say one more thing on a gigantic pile of reasons why Biden sucks. Right. So the fact that there's people, coming out from the Democratic Party saying, oh man, now we gotta get him out of there because he had that performance. It's like the red line wasn't genocide. The red line was a bad bait to performance. And that's the issue in general. If they think that Kamala is gonna be the one that could do it instead of him, like, I don't know. It really, to me, I mean, she's a cop, which is a no-go for me, but like there's plenty of liberals that love that shit. So, but it's like, really, it doesn't really matter. They need to find the best person they think can beat Trump, because that's what they've stated their goal is the entire time. Right.
Yeah. That's
what they want. Clearly what they want. And they'll say anything and do pretty much anything they can to get it, from what I can tell.
So about the red line thing, like the red line isn't genocide. The red line is a bad debate. I would say it's not that the red line was a bad debate. It was a red line of, now we don't think he can beat Trump. I think that's because, like, I think they thought, but the night before the debate is like, oh yeah, with everything, he still could beat Trump. Now that he exposed himself and now his confidence is low, that's the actual red line where they don't think he can actually win. And so it was never about morality. Yeah, but it's interesting you said, like, I had a discussion with people about this last week about, whether Biden will be replaced or not. My money would be on him not being replaced, just because that seems like,
I think he will.
I just don't know. It's just like, it's not, because I agree with you that it's not necessarily the who. I don't think that it really matters who you run against Trump. I think that everyone has a pretty much equal shot. I think it is the how that's the big deal, because this has never happened before. We've never had a situation where we're 6 months before an election and the presumptive nominee has lost the confidence of the party. That has never happened before. Like in modern history or American history that I can think of in general. And so the process of selecting a nominee is already done. We've already done that. We've already had the primaries, and the political nerds will tell you that, well, technically, the people didn't vote for the Okay, I know this is kind of new. This is like 60 years old. Back in the past, they would have. Not every state had primaries. Some did, but they didn't really matter. Like, what mattered was the actual convention where the delegates, cast their ballots for. So the party picked who That's the funny thing too, that I remember this kind of weighing on my shoulders in 2016 and 2020. The Democratic Party is under no obligation to put the candidate forward who wins the most. They actually aren't. They aren't. Like, they can pick the candidate they want.
Yeah.
It wouldn't go over well with the voters, but technically they could. So I was like, man, what if Bernie wins and they fuck him over? But he didn't win, so it didn't matter at the end. But yeah, the part about getting the new one, that would be interesting, because Kamala Harris seems to be like the only one who could actually do it in my estimation, and not because I think she has like a much better shot than anybody else, but the important part would be the money, because people who have already donated to the Biden-Harris ticket, Kamala could keep all of that money.
Yeah,
someone else would have to start over.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah, it's interesting, and something you said made me think about the fact that. So you said, they didn't really have primaries this year. Well, that's kind of normal. I mean, they still have primaries, but almost always, like every party, no matter who's the president is, if they're eligible for another term, that's who the party picks, the incumbent, right? The idea that they should have had primaries because they could have had someone else besides Biden win it, like that was never going to happen.
That was never going to happen.
They had primaries, and not just because it's this version of the neoliberalism. It's because that's how it always operates. Not that it shouldn't be changed, but like that's just how they do it, right? And so, and I do like I do appreciate that Harris, if she was put forth as the nominee, if Biden suspends his campaign, would get his money. Like, that is unfortunately the place we're in the United States with the way campaign financing works, right? Not just that she gets the money, but also that it's a shitload of money, because
so much money.
It's totally untethered from any morality or any logical, like, the campaign donations is just insane.
Yeah, that's the first thing I would change if I were emperor for 10 minutes of the United States. I'd change the campaign finance laws. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
And you're right. Yeah. So, it wasn't out of character for them to just like assume Biden would be the nominee since he was the incumbent. That's how it always is. Like, I can think, I mean, there's the only times it was like up for question or something, it was like Carter back in 1980, because Ted Kennedy was going to run against him. Mm-hmm. That's the only time I can think when that was even like discussed. No one ever thought about that. And so, yeah, I wasn't surprised that Biden was not. But what does surprise me, though, is like with Biden's case in particular. Now, the number one criticism for Joe Biden from anybody was, hey, is this guy, like, does he have what it takes to A, survive for 5 more years, and B, survive the rigors of the fucking presidency of the United States? I mean, we're not asking him to be, an assistant principal here. Like, this is a tough job. Yeah. And is he going to be able to do that? So knowing this, I have to wonder why the hell they scheduled this debate at all. I really, that perplexes me.
Yeah.
Because like what it's coming out of the woodwork now, people are like, oh yeah, this kind of happens with him every now and then. He's not like this every day, but like every third day, he's kind of like this. Mm-hmm. Now, if I knew this, I would never schedule him for a debate, because it's not like people would have blamed him for saying, yeah, I don't feel like debating Donald Trump. I mean, how much kickback you're going to get from that? But it's
everyone would be like, yeah, it's pointless to even talk to him.
Yeah. So, like, not only did he debate Trump, but he asked for this debate. This is why it's been a while now, so I'm kind of unloading like a week's worth of anger on this. There's that. I've been so pissed off at like resistance libs after this, saying that, well, for the first thing they say is, well, no, Biden actually won the debate because Trump lied with everything he said. It's like, people, I need you to understand something real, like right away. Political debates are not honesty competitions. That's not what they
Right.
are. Okay.
Yeah,
I hate to break this to you. So say what?
I was just gonna say they never have been. It's always been rhetoric fueled nonsense.
Yes, it's like since when has honesty been something that politicians are known for? Like that's not what this is about. Like debates are 100% style and maybe 10% substance. Like that's all it is. So you could lie with every statement you make and win a debate. You could also tell the truth with every statement you make and still win because what you say doesn't matter nearly as much as how you say it. I'm sorry, like you may wish it was something else, but I'm operating in the world as it is, not as I'd like it to be. So if you know this and you know that Joe Biden has trouble keeping his train of thought, stumbles over his words, ends up walking right into his opponent's wheelhouse when making a point, you knew this before you scheduled the debate. So going up there and saying that, oh, well, Trump absolutely, no, that's not how this is. This is not how it works. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, and this is the earliest I think there's ever been a presidential debate in an election year. They usually happen after the conventions, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
You know, and like now more than ever, there was zero reason to do that because there's no one that watched that debate that was like, I'm not sure who I'm going to vote for. Right. Like that's the idea of a debate, right? Like to have people make articulate points, even though it's always rhetoric nowadays, but like, that's the point, right? You have a debate to see which candidate stands, you know, where on which issue. And then the idea is that will help you make an informed decision, right? That's the, like, you know, the idealist view of what they're for. But against Trump, it's useless because one, he's going to outright lie in addition to the rhetoric, right? Like he's just going to make shit up. That's just wild. And so it doesn't matter what you say. And you just make him, you know, you don't make yourself look better by standing up there and debating him. I don't think, because he just lies about everything. Like I happened to watch the debate, which is the first one I've watched in years. And I was just like, this is amazing nonsense. Like, just out of control.
So I think I'm going to disagree with you on both points there, oddly enough. This is all right at first, but so only half on the first one. So when you said that no one's watching the debate, and so I guess, because I agree that I don't think there were a lot of people watching the debate saying, who should I vote for, Trump or Biden? I don't think that happened. No, I think that is a extremely small portion of the population. I do think there's a portion of people who are like leaning Biden and saying, okay, and not necessarily like they've said, no, I'm not voting for Trump, not happening. But then they saw what they saw last week. It's like, okay, look, I'm not going to get out of bed and vote for that guy. That's not happening. I think that's where the damage. But I don't think he lost, you know, people to Trump. I don't think that's a large percent of the population. But I do think he definitely lost people who said, no, I just can't do it. I'm sorry. That it would be irresponsible of me to vote for this guy as president.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think that's the damage that happened with Trump. Now, as far as being a waste of time to debate Trump, I agree that it is a waste of time because, like, well, especially now because of what happened. But beating, like, I don't buy the argument that Trump is some sort of, you know, unbeatable force in debates. And my primary reason for that is that's exactly what Biden did 4 years ago. Because Biden debated Trump twice. And I went back and checked the polls because the CNN poll for last week's debate, it was 67% said Trump won, 33% said Biden won. And first off, I have got to talk to that 33%. Like, what the hell were you guys watching? There's no way you could possibly think Biden won that debate. But the first debate, the polls were like, it was like 59-41 for Biden. And the second one was like, it wasn't 100%. It was like 49-31 Biden. So beating Trump is possible. Like it is. And Biden, and Biden, here's the thing too. Like any way you cut this, it's Joe Biden's fault. Like there's no way around this because Joe Biden scheduled the debate. He invited Trump to the debate. He set the time, he set the date, he set the rules, he set everything up, and Trump accepted all of Biden's conditions and still kicked his ass. I'm sorry. There's no way.
Yeah.
And like Trump, it's not as if Trump is some sort of political unknown quantity. Trump has been the same person every day for the last 8 years. You knew what to expect. Like Trump did his job. All Biden had to do was give a C- performance. And I think he could have locked down the election. I do. I think that if he'd have just gone out there and been show that, yeah, I got all my marbles, he'd have been fine. But now he's upended everything. And I will lose my mind if I hear another person say, oh, yeah, his debate team really let him down. Fuck his advisors. Get the fuck out of here. Like, you guys need to stop babying the most powerful man on earth. You got to stop doing that. Like, he's the president of the United States. The buck stops with him. It doesn't stop with his advisors. I can't believe like the insanity I've been hearing from people this last week.
Yeah, it was wild. And, the idea that there was a winner, that there's winners and losers of debates, especially that one. Like, yeah, Trump won by default almost just because of how bad Biden looked. But like, really, it's just the capitalist class that ends up winning regardless. So
oh, they were going to win either way. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there was no that's true. Let's see what Tweedledee says here. Why can't we just rig the election, hide all the evidence, and pay off all the judges like the last time? It's not like the Republicans can stop us. Listen, I've been saying this for a long time. I have been saying this exact same thing, that like people who keep saying, oh, well, the Democrats just they cheated all the election. I just roll with this. Like, yeah, that's right. We did. I did 50. Yeah, I did 50 mail-in ballots myself and everything. And you guys are too dumb to stop me. And that's how you know they don't believe this shit, because of the work they actually put into this. And it's like the old saying goes, like if elections really didn't matter, they wouldn't spend billions of dollars on the shit. Like, so it's like it's kind of absurd. Oh boy,
that's hilarious.
It is. It's just funny stuff. That debate was wild though. That was so we live streamed the debate here on our account, and with Nick Powers. Do you know him? You follow him by any chance?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, okay, great account.
The list though.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, but we just like the stuff Biden did was do you remember the time? They gave him like 5 layups and he blew them all. They asked him about abortion. I was like, okay, there's no way he's gonna flub the abortion question. That's the biggest, the biggest weapon in your arsenal. And he starts off talking about abortion. And by the end of his his response, he's talking about just like that poor girl who was killed by an illegal immigrant. And you went to her funeral. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
what's going on here?
Unreal. And that one's an easy one. All he had to do was get up there and say, yep, the Supreme Court hosed us. And, the conservative legal project was behind it. We didn't do what we should have done as Democrats to codify it. But now we have to try and fix it. Like, that's all he had to say. Right. And he couldn't even do that.
And watching that, if he falls apart like that in a 90-minute debate against one of the dumbest human beings on the planet, you're telling me he's like representing our country in foreign relations and stuff, and like I just like that is, oh God. And
I saw a snippet of an article from Axios, which I don't know anything about Axios in particular, so don't flame me if they're a bunch of assholes. But all I know is that there were some aides from the Biden camp that told Axios that Biden is usually good from 10:30 to 4, from 10:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. But then after that, it's a crapshoot on any given day, basically, on what you're going to get. And it's like, the point of that is, someone astutely pointed out, well, it's a good thing you don't have to be president after 4:30 at night, right? And it's like,
yeah,
that's so true, because you're the fucking president. you could get a call at 2 a.m. that some just god awful shit has happened. And
Yep.
you're going to be expected to be on camera within like an hour and reassuring people that live in the United States that everything's going to be okay. Right. Like if you like that right there is enough to be like, okay, he's not fit now, if that's the case, let alone to run another 4 years. Right. Like,
yeah. Also, I mean, if you knew this as his advisor, why would actually the first time I heard the debate was at 9 p.m. Eastern time? I'm like, why?
Yeah,
why
I thought that was super late too.
And that was before I saw the performance. I was like, I don't want to stay up till 11 p.m. and I'm half Biden's age. That is absolute insanity. And that's a great point about, because I heard that too. That actually, before 4 p.m. he's good to go. Like, okay, who the fuck cares? Like that doesn't matter. Yeah. And it's just I don't understand. I don't get it at all. And how much of just American democracy is held by people's ego? Because I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I genuinely don't. I don't know where they're going to go with this. And here's the thing too. This is why I'm still leaning that they're just going to stick it out with Biden. And because Biden will need they can't force him. He'll need to voluntarily step down before they do anything. And I don't think he will. But also, if he decides, okay, for the good of the nation, I'm going to admit that I no longer have the critical faculties to, run for this office and guide the nation for the next 4 years. I appreciate everyone's support. I've done my best that I can over my term, but now I'm going to fully endorse my vice president, Kamala Harris, and, throughout the entire. Now, if that happens, that's going to bring up more questions too. Like, okay, so if you're not fit to be president in January of next year, why are you fit now? Why don't you just resign? Why are you still sticking around? So there's no logical way for this to work. The only logical way it would work is if he says, okay, I'm resigning effective immediately. Harris is the vice president and she's going to run as the incumbent or whatever, which is going to make the party look even worse than it already does. I'm having a hard time thinking how the Democrats win, or the presidency at least. Yeah.
Well, it's and I think I saw yesterday at some point, Biden had told the staffers or donors or something on a call that he was under no circumstances dropping out of the race or whatever. Yeah. And I couldn't help think that it reminded me a lot of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh, God.
She refused not to retire, which was her prerogative, right? While Obama was president. And so that he could replace him with somebody that wasn't the worst of the worst possible lawyers to put on the Supreme Court, right? And so her arrogance is reflected in Biden when I look at him talking about that, and how horrible of a decision that was by her and her hubris to be like, no, I can still do this job, and it's like you just you cost the whole country Roe v. Wade when you did that.
Yeah.
I see that same shit in Biden. So who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just now that you mentioned that, I think one thing I think the only thing that could save this is if Biden does die. If Biden dies of a heart attack tomorrow morning, it might be the best thing that could possibly happen to Democrats, because then they're forced into it and no one can blame them. Like, okay, well, all right, that's just how it's going to be. So, but knowing our luck, that's not going to happen. And we'll have, I don't know. The only thing that I'm holding on to that might, because look, I'll admit weirder things have happened. Like Trump still might lose. Like Trump is a horrible candidate. Like he's awful and he's super unpopular. And honestly, I got to tell you, if Biden won this election, it would still be less surprising to me than Trump winning in 2016. That would still actually be, I can't imagine. Yeah, I can still see a universe where Biden wins. I couldn't imagine Trump winning in 2016. So
nobody could, which is why it happened.
Why he won in the first place. Exactly. That's what I was telling people, because honestly, before last week, I was 100% confident Biden was still going to win, not off of his merits, but because of how bad Trump was, and
Trump
how
sucks so much.
yeah, and
Yeah.
because the Democrats are doing really well in the congressional races and the Senate races, like way higher than Biden. I thought that the bottom of the ticket would carry the top for a weird way, but now it's toss up. I couldn't begin to tell you. I don't know. Red Scare Claire said that's literally sundowning. I know, man. It's just it's. I don't understand how Biden being honest and resigning due to old age would look bad for the party. Because all right, because here's the when you remember when the Republicans took 18 votes to get a Speaker of the House? Remember when that happened a couple years back? And how they were the laughing stock of the nation, and people were like, "Oh, this is not a serious party. They don't have any idea how to govern." What they've done with Biden shows they don't know how to govern. Like it shows that they knew this person was actually hiding cognitive difficulties, and they tried to hide it from us. So what they're doing now is they're trying to pretend like they're putting on this facade. We know it's a lie, but this is what they have to do. It's like, no, he's actually not in cognitive decline. He actually had a bad night. With him resigning, it's admitting he's in cognitive decline and that they have been lying. That's why I think the party looks mad, because now like everyone thinks they're lying, but they haven't said it. Yeah, that's right. We've just been covering this up, like committing essentially like national security fraud for like 4 years now, or at least a year or two now. That's why I think it makes the party look weak, because all right, we've been lying to you for 4 years. Now we're ready for you to trust us all over again. I just don't think that's going to work. That's how what do you think, Craig?
Yeah, no, I think they don't look good no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Even if Biden wins, they still don't look good. Right? Because
there's no way they look good, but I think they can look worse. There's varying degrees of worse.
For sure. They can look worse than they do right now. And part of that would be admitting to their, while it would be good probably to admit for the long term, it's very short term harm for them, because they just have egg all over their face then, right? It's bonkers.